It's time to dad.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Time to Dad. I'm here with Jason, Joe, and JT. A little Triple J action for you. Thank you guys for joining us, hanging out with us tonight. Sorry, we were just screwing with some potential additions to the show, and I'm looking at Jack Black, Bob Ross on Jason's screen, which is great. I have to find that video now. Yeah.
Thanks
Hi,
for tuning
everyone.
in. If this is your first time, this is an art show
This is
that me and
perfect.
Cage do every week. And today, we'll be focusing on our beloved KG Kyle Gass.
Exactly. That was perfect. You didn't even need an intro. We should have just played that video.
It would have been a great way to
Oh,
start it.
shoot. Thank you guys for hanging out with us anyway. I don't know, where are we at? Last episode, we had some sports that we chit-chatted
I think
about.
we had some schooling stuff.
Schooling.
We kinda wanted to talk about kids. Yeah,
Let's
kids
do it.
schooling and
Let's do it.
what to expect, I guess. What to do. What
Can we
not
talk
to
about
do.
the
What are you
germs?
doing?
The germs they bring home?
That's not fun.
No, so we've been fucking touring preschools like they're valedictorians, and I'm going to fucking Duke and Harvard, and like it's been an experience. Like we're sending them to preschool, and I want to know, is that the common experience now? I mean, it's important where we send them. What age did you guys make that transition? I think Nick too would have been, actually, because he has like the
Yeah, he's got
nanny
the
and
older
shit.
ones.
Yeah,
The au pair.
yeah.
We're at the process right now of, like, we got UPK coming up for our oldest.
What is that?
It's like
Ultra
before
pre-K?
preschool. It's like
Oh, it's
before,
pre-pre-K.
Yeah, pre-K, and it's like there's a lottery ticket. Like, only a certain amount of people in the town
Is that public?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
They get in, and then it's free, and then, like, so everybody wants to get into it, but my wife's like trying to sign up for it, but she doesn't want to get into it. So I'm like, we're going to
So
she keeps them home.
Virginia, it's not really a lottery. I know a lot of Virginia's official pre-kindergarten through the public school system is based on a lot of it's income based, a lot of it's special needs based, I believe. A lot of it is first language based. So if your child's native tongue is not English, they kind of get a leg up into that, and then after they kind of fill it in with whatever criteria they're looking for, income based, then they start accepting other students that have just kind of applied. And we actually really got lucky because when it was time for us to apply for Emerson to go, Jen was actually between jobs. And so we had kind of talked around, and they were like, no, like, if she's not employed right now, then you need to put that on the form. And so we did, because she wasn't employed at the time we submitted his papers and when he was accepted. And so Emerson got accepted, and the program's free, transportation was free, lunch is free, all that. And obviously that's going to vary by state.
Sure.
But if he hadn't been selected, I don't know what we would have done. I think he probably would have still stayed at the daycare he was at,
Yeah.
which we were pretty happy with. It wasn't necessarily a school setting. There wasn't a lot of strict learning, but there was a little bit of structure to it and the things they did. But I think that's kind of on you as a parent. Do you want to kind of introduce them to the school system a little early? And like Joe said, and I said, it may be a lottery. It may be criteria you have to meet. So you kind of got to figure out, okay, if we don't get accepted or we don't meet the criteria, then what do we want to do?
Yeah.
I honestly don't. And I think it totally depends on where you feel like your kid's at, I think. But I don't think we would have put Emerson in any kind of specialty pre-K school had we not been accepted. But I
mean,
think
if we don't get accepted, he's just staying home and doing his little 2 hour, 3 days a week anyway. And if he does get accepted,
and that's what Emerson would have done.
3 days a week. My wife doesn't
Yeah.
want to send him 5 days, you know?
Yeah. And to be honest, that was probably the biggest transition is our pre-K. It's not like a half day pre-K. They go the full day with the normal enrolled
that's
students.
exactly what it is. Yeah, it's a full day, and she's just not happy about it.
And dude, it kicked his ass at first. I mean, he was, what was he, 4.5 when he started that? So yeah, that's a long damn day, especially considering he was going from half days at daycare to full days in pre-K. But is it only private pre-K where you are, Jason, or is there some sort of public pre-K? Or do you know? Have you just started
I always
digging?
went. So I went to. So it's all about price. Like, there's whatever you want. There's all different levels of it.
So
I
it's
mean,
private,
this is
then,
like,
right? If you got to pay out of pocket.
yeah. So it's private, or it's like the church. So like the church has like the public ones, and that's where I always went, which I'm sure is very reasonable because my parents weren't fucking rich or whatever. Like, I actually, like, I mean, not to brag or whatever, and I know you guys make decent money in this group. Like telling my mom what I made last year, and then having her be like, "Oh, like your dad and I, like when you were a kid, like we were making that like combined, like less than that combined." Like, so, I mean, it's a different age, but my parents were not super wealthy. They just managed their money well, and they were smart. They were smart where they bought the property in a nice area, you know. But,
yeah. Well,
people didn't spend money like our society does.
See,
True.
my wife was a pre-kindergarten teacher, and she said there was, she never really specified whether there was like a specific box somebody had to check. However, it was whenever a child lived within the specific boundary of the school district, they got first dibs.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you would have other children who live outside of that school boundaries, in another small town, while they have their own public school or whatever have you. That parent can opt to request that their child be enrolled in the pre-K kindergarten
get a variance
at that school.
Yeah.
But they have to pay like a certain tuition if they live outside of that boundary. Again, I can't really say, what boxes had to be checked before they would be admitted. But I know that while it wasn't always the case, they said your kid had to be completely and totally potty trained.
Yeah,
which was definitely not always the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't do that.
And
They just want my money.
The main thing I learned from my wife is that pre-K is horrible. It is there for parents. Now, I know there's an exception to the rule, but 90% of the things that they teach in pre-K are things that parents could teach their children.
Well,
now, again, I understand that not everybody has the time, but, given, employment situations, whatever have you.
Are you saying that I've learned this before? I should know these things? Is that what you're saying? That the things that my child loses and learns in first grade, I should already know? Is that because I don't even know if that's true? At what age?
He's saying it's normal skills you'd kind of work on with your kid on your own at home.
Right. Like basic counting, letter recognition and stuff like that.
Not every parent's.
Well,
a good
I'll give you two arguments
that
make that a BS statement. Number one is, I don't give a shit who your kid is. They're going to perform better in a controlled setting than they are at home, and be less distracted, ADHD or not. And number two, it's like the time thing that you said, right? Like if both parents are working, that's not going to happen. I mean, the only reason Emerson learned so much he did so quickly is because my mom, bless her heart, like worked with him every time she could when he was super young and stayed with her pretty much all day. But I don't think that's realistic for most families nowadays. If you have a stay-at-home wife or whatever, or a nanny that can do it, like, good for you. But I think on a realistic level, that's just not obtainable for a lot of families.
Well, I can tell you, like on our hand right now, like my wife's a stay-at-home mom, but she can't teach my oldest one stuff that she was because the youngest one is attached to her. So,
yeah.
It's like it's tough in that scenario. So for him to learn things like, it's when the other one's napping, but then that's when she's got to do laundry or something about other neat things like this. So she can't really be doing.
Well, that's what I mean by the controlled setting too.
Well, I guess for me, it's being that I only have Jasper, home is the most controlled setting that I can imagine, right?
But it's also their safe place, man. That's where they can kind of be them, and they know they can. I forget the quote. It was something like kids that act out all crazy at home and do the super silly shit is really a good sign of your home environment. That means your kid feels safe. They feel like they can truly be themselves. And I think that's what I'm trying to say is that at home, your kid, they're not going to act out, and it's a different environment. It's getting them outside of their comfort zone that's going to help them focus. Is what I'm trying to say. Trust me, you're gonna.
I heard experiences from on the other hand, and I can tell you, 90% of just the general.
Yeah, but what age level are you talking about? If you want to talk about high school and middle and
4.5 and 5, no, I'm talking about 3, 4.5 and 5. She was specifically a pre-kindergarten teacher, and a lot of the bad behaviors I consistently heard was just simple behavioral issues that need could have been addressed at home. But instead, and again,
I don't think people aren't sending their kids to pre-K to like learn how to behave.
Well, no, it shouldn't be.
Dude, pre-K, it doesn't offer, like, it's not mandatory. That's the thing. To me, pre-K is all the way it has been conveyed to me. Pre-K is nothing.
It's the same thing as taking AP and college level courses in high school. It's designed to ramp your brain up to a higher level of learning. That's great if you point out pictures and your kids start sounding out words and picture books and things. But it's a different style of learning than just kind of the basic stuff that I think. I mean, if you're going above and beyond that kind of shit at home, like, more power to you. But we didn't have the time or energy to do that. So,
well, again, I mean, no disrespect. I get you. There are different variables that come into play.
Yeah,
but even then, the only thing that pre-K is generally used for here is just to introduce them to a school setting, get them somewhat socialized with other children.
Well, that's what I mean. Like
simple beginner things, like
prepping the brain to step into that learning environment is what I think pre-K is supposed to be.
Sometimes seeing other kids do it too, how other kids behave, good or bad, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
Well,
sometimes they see other kids; those are their peers, and they go, "Oh, wow, that's pretty cool."
It gets them used to having rules, right? Rules that are probably different than rules at home. It gets them used to a schedule. Unless you're dropping them off, it gets them used to the transportation system. It gets them used to a learning environment where you can't just, not to say kids don't, but you can't just get up and walk away when you're just done listening to, exactly. When you're done listening to mom or dad, it's a different environment. I don't know. That's how we looked at it, and I think that's what Emerson got out of it. And I think it helped him adjust quicker when he got into kindergarten, which is right the next level, and it becomes a more strict environment. There's more of a curriculum based learning versus like a general skill knowledge type learning of pre-K. But I don't know. It totally varies by parent. I'm just giving you our point of view and why we liked it and why we thought Emerson should do it. I don't know what we would have. That being said, like I said before, if he didn't get accepted to the Henrico County Public Schools system, we wouldn't have paid for him to go to a special pre-K somewhere. I don't know that your kid missing out on pre-K if you can't afford it and had to pay out of pocket is detrimental to their learning trajectory, right? But I do think there are benefits to it if it's available to you and either it's free or you can afford it.
Oh yeah,
we just don't want to do it 5 days all day.
Yeah,
that's
it's tough.
Of thing.
And
we just want him to be a kid a little bit longer at home, enjoying, that aspect of it. And if she's not working, we're in a fortunate position to be able to have her spend more time with the kids. So if we can not be locked in a school all day, that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Or we might homeschool down the road. Not homeschool just him. We might do. I don't know what they call it. You get like a group of parents like in the neighborhood and go to like one person's house or something.
I can't think of
it's homeschooling, but you can like do a shared curriculum. But it's just like a homeschooling community that
it's like 9 kids or something. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's still like a classroom kind of thing, almost like it's almost like a private school because you just don't have to deal with the state's crap, and that's kind of some of the stuff we're going through and thinking of doing. Yeah. I don't know. Listen, it's tough. I mean, when it comes to your kids, there's a lot of decisions, a lot of things out there that, and then like you said, it always, some parents can, some parents can't because they both got to work and they have no other option. And then they got to figure out who can grab them from the bus and what school is longer, which one's closer. There's a lot of things that come into it.
All I know is Emerson's teacher at the first back to school night to kind of get feedback on your kid is Emerson's teacher told us she can definitely tell a difference between the kids who came through the pre-K system and the kids that did not, as far as how quickly they are able to adapt and begin learning the kindergarten curriculum. And I don't, like I said, it was free to us and we did it, and I would do it again if we had another kid. I think it was that valuable to him. But if you got to pay for it, like I said, that's a totally different thing you need to weigh. And I don't know that if we were paying out of pocket, his daycare alone wasn't cheap, so I can't imagine a pre-kindergarten school is any cheaper. I don't think we would have done it if we had to pay out of pocket to get that for him. That's all I have on that.
We'll figure it out as it goes. My wife kind of handles more of that aspect of it too.
Yeah, Jasper will be starting speech therapy here soon. So we just got it scheduled to where he's going to have a speech therapist come to the house and just work with him and observe him. Wolf and I always had some concerns as to him almost being 2 years old. He's not. He says "mama," he says "dada," but it's just not consistent enough. It doesn't seem like they're words like that he's using it to associate with something or someone. They're just, at this point, they just seem like sounds that he's making. And that's
who told you, who recommended the speech therapist? Did you guys talk to his pediatrician or something?
Well, his pediatrician made mention of it because she was asking about, is he saying mama or dad? associate y'all, or even trying to mimic like Doe or anything like that. We said no, he's not really doing that. He makes the sounds, but he's just not actually using them to identify me or his mama. So we, and they even mentioned something about possible autism, and I'm like, I don't think that's the case. They mentioned it in ADHD. I'm like, yeah, get that shit out of here, because I'm not going to. Firstly, I think ADHD.
Every kid has ADHD at that age. So.
Right. You're not gonna tell me ADHD. I said I think that's a made up disease for people that don't know how to control a child. Because what child doesn't have the attention span of a chihuahua? I mean, think about it.
It's very real, but it's got to be. I'm not. I don't think it. Yeah, I don't even want to talk on that. It's very real, and there are very real symptoms, and it affects different people differently. Like Joe could be ADHD as hell, but function a million times better than I would with ADHD. Mm-hmm. It just varies by person, but yeah, when it comes to kids and that kind of stuff, I worry about it, and I honestly we were fighting to get our daughter diagnosed with it, and not necessarily diagnosed. It's not like we were looking to get something out of it. We didn't want her. It wasn't so she could get a leg up in the school system. It was just that we wanted someone to recognize the things that we were observing and dealing with at home, because yes, that did transition into her school life and affected her there. But our main thing as parents was just trying to find a doctor that would recognize the fact that she had it, so they could help us cope with it and work with her on it. And that was the biggest thing for us. But kids at your kids' level, yeah, I don't know why that would even be part of the discussion. I mean, they're little ping pong balls anyway. If they focus on anything for longer than a couple minutes, like, hallelujah, right? They're just all over the place. That's kind of odd. But I don't even, it's been so long since we've had those discussions with Emerson's pediatrician. I don't even remember like the milestone years where they say, at this age, here's what we expect to see. And they kind of ask you, is this what's going on? I don't even remember those milestones. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I've got my own, specific feelings on the whole ADHD thing. Like, I think you can opinion is. I wasn't really, I'm not really keen on the idea of just chalking up my kid being a kid, to being, diagnosed with something like that. Obviously, I'm not trying to medicate him and sedate him. I want him to be bouncy and everything else.
The good thing is a lot of people are hip to that, and they understand that's you're not in the minority there with that thinking. So there are doctors down the road, if you think that's something you need to see, where they do have more natural approaches that aren't just Adderall. There are doctors that work with you and physically helping yourself or your kid focus naturally, and not through some drug that debatably will turn them into a zombie that just kind of floats through life in the cloud of whatever they're on. So don't be afraid of that. That's not to say that the first few you run into won't be that way, but there are definitely doctors and communities out there that can. This is more not for you. This is more for any dad listening that's going through that shit. There's communities out there where you can find doctors that will not medicate. That's not their goal. Their goal is not to prescribe.
Why not?
Their goal is not to prescribe medication. Is to kind of naturally work with kids and even adults to figure out how to cope with ADHD without medical medicines. So for anyone listening out there, they're out there in this group. You just got to find them. But I feel your pain, man. If a doctor had told me that, I I mean, Emerson has always been in like the lowest percentiles for like not speech and things, but for height and his weight and stuff. I mean, he's a small dude. Like his mom's she's not a big girl. I'm not a huge dude. So he's a little guy, and we're just kind of like he's going to be a smaller guy.
Nick, you remember when you thought I was tall until we met?
I did until we met, and I was like, "Damn, Joe." Oh, that was fucking hilarious.
I'm 6'2". Just
Hey, what's
so
up,
every time
Westminster?
Dad listener.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6'2",
6'2".
just like Jason.
Yeah. Everybody tells me that I look like Stone Cold. You know, I'm 6'2" myself. I'm stacked.
Dude, when I you're not the only one though, Joe. When I was going up to New York for the what is this?
Wrong wrestler.
That's too much.
Wrong wrestler.
Shorter sound bites. But when I was going up to New York, and I'd be on these Teams meetings with people, and then I'd fly up to New York for the leadership training. And I'd meet people, and I was like, "Damn, you look a lot different than I expected after like being on Teams calls with you and stuff." It's kind of funny, but it is what it is.
Like, is that a good thing, bad thing? Like, what what does that mean?
It wasn't bad in your situation. I just expected you to be taller, but not. There were a couple very shocking ones from my company. So, well, former company, I guess, because we got acquired.
At least a lot of my clients that I've never met in person, maybe they think I'm tall. That's kind of cool.
They probably do. That's why they invest with you.
That's it. They go, man, this guy's tall. He could definitely reach high market value.
He's gonna come break my knees with a baseball bat if I don't know that.
And then they see me there.
You got a little Guido in you.
I gotta get a booster seat for my Zoom calls.
Yeah. Jason, did we answer your pre-K questions, or do you have more?
So what's the question was because I don't know if it's the best. I guess cost wise it's going to be about the same. We tried the Montessori school, but the hours, like we didn't mind. We were even willing to like they're more expensive. We were willing to do it. But
the Montessori school around here lets your kids run out into the middle of 4-lane highways with nobody aware. It was just a huge lawsuit. Some kid ran out into the middle of a 4-lane. It wasn't a highway, so to speak, but it's 45, 50 mile an hour speed limit. The kid got out and ran over there, and nobody knew it. Luckily, people saw the damn kid in the road and stopped, but. I don't know. Like I said, if we had to pay for it, we would not have done it. Unless it was the same cost as his regular daycare. If it had been the same cost, sure, because if he wasn't in pre-K, he'd still be in daycare. If it's free, yeah, we were all in. We thought it was a good program and a good kind of leg up and intro to him to kind of get ready for a big boy school in kindergarten. Is my take on it. If it costs you money and you're to the point of where you're really looking at dollars and cents hard and trying to figure out if it's realistically an option for your family, I'd say don't do it. Just my personal opinion. I don't think the value is there to bring that much stress into your life over it. I don't think it's there, and
it's not an Ivy League school.
Yeah, that's kind of exactly what it is, right? Yeah. What are you?
Just because it's fancy doesn't mean it's worth what you're paying. So
it's not. That's different. Like, I mean, it's all in how you interpret it. It's not about what's fancy. It's literally like fucking sending them to Amish school. Like Montessori, they got fucking like wood and clay. Like, I don't understand what's fancy about it, but I mean, it's
there are though, is what he's saying.
Like
the ritzy private schools that are, you're paying for a name to say your kid goes there, so to speak.
There's a few towns like that by me that's got like some of these, they'll call it like, the Buckley Day School, and it's like, it's that one.
The Primrose Academy.
Yes,
I
yes.
don't.
Like what? Like
Yeah,
we learned how to tie shoes today. It's the same.
Until somebody shows me like quantifiable benefits of paying ridiculous sums of money to have your kid in a pre-K at some, fancy preschool. I don't know what the hell they're teaching your kid at that level that is worth a significant amount of money.
I wouldn't be able to justify it.
I'm sure there's plenty out there that'll argue different, but
I don't know. It's tough. I mean, listen, I think it comes down to the kids, the parents. It's kind of even stuff like, you have like your Catholic schools and your Christian schools, and I'm all for that and things like that. But, just like that, you could have like a Christian school and the kid ends up being a drug addict because he didn't really want to go there. His parents forced them and all these things, So it's just, it always comes down to a lot of what we do at home with them, how we raise them.
What I would say the biggest, the only thing that would sway my opinion on if it wasn't available free and we had to pay for it would be if we knew there was already some sort of shortcoming, or if the pediatrician had already kind of hinted at the fact that he may have some sort of learning disability that was already identifiable. Then I think that's kind of a no-brainer answer as well. If you can kind of give them a leg up and an easier way to transition, and you're going to run into problems like that, then that makes there's just a lot of different factors to weigh, I guess. Is what it boils down to.
Do what it is for you, right?
It was weird because we were like touring the schools. At one point, they sent out a recruiter. I did record that on my phone if anybody wants. So
like
I think this was a little bit.
What are they doing?
I mean,
right track.
He was trying to get us.
Hey, Dad, I can't see real good.
And that's my thing.
Well, actually, Matt, Ellen and I have encouraged.
Like, why recruiting for what? Other than income for the school.
He was more of a motivational speaker.
What were they pitching? Like, what kind of eye-opening?
Well, I have sound of it.
Oh.
No, I have sound of it.
Oh.
Right here.
That's not it.
You're big yapper. You're using your paper not for writings, but for rolling doobies.
See that? Make my kids scared.
You're gonna be doing
about
doing
doobie rolling at preschool.
when you're living in a van
This
down
is just the
by
best
the
part.
river.
For real, man. Like that'll spook a kid.
I don't think kids are kids. They just know about rolling doobies.
I mean, this guy was getting ahead of the game, but yeah, I mean,
I would send my kid to school where he was going. It's a great recruiter. I'd go there. That's worth the money.
He's definitely in the process of trying to get your kids to go into higher learning there.
For sure.
Well, that's the thing,
Yeah.
and then you get your kid into these fancy school systems, and then you feel obligated, and then it just becomes this private school thing. And I mean, if you can afford it, like, more power to you in this economy. But that is not our jam. Yeah,
because if you could barely afford it, and then they're going to become friends with the other ones that can really afford it, and then they're going to have to do all the expensive things even more. So
yeah,
gets you wrapped up into the whole wheel of it. And
yeah, it's a
can't
fart show. What's the Riz sound effect?
Was that SpongeBob?
Oh,
no.
1980s porno music.
That's exactly what that was.
That's funny.
Well, on that, let's. I think it is a school night. We all got to be up early. We got the kids got to get out there. Tomorrow's Thursday.
You can feel it, dude. You can feel it.
Jason's kids in the house right now.
We'll have
hopped
some
up on
wrestling matters
Kool-Aid.
on the next one. But listen.
Come on, you could do it. Push that cart. Come on.
No.
The look. I think he's like
on the last 2 episodes. There we go.
The spirit.
We didn't have the sound on the last one. Now we have it.
No, that's true. So we might just cut that last one out. But listen, dads, we appreciate you guys being here with us. Like, subscribe, comment, share it to your friends. We want to continue growing the Time to Dad following. So we ask for you guys to help us.
We got to do a live soon. We've been talking about it. We need to do it. Yeah.
But
JT's gonna shave his hair and beard on the live.
That's it.
Mustache.
I ain't got a beard.
Mustache.
Crazy.
This ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
And you can crush 2 beers like Stone Cold.
Do it for the gram.
That's it. But guys, have an awesome night. Always a pleasure being here with you. Jason, great job with the sound effects. We'll practice that for next time.
Working on it, guys. We're working on it. We're getting better every week. Like and subscribe.
We're learning and growing for you guys. So have an awesome night. Time to Dad is out. Peace.
See ya.
Later.